Yo, it's good, you too. You know what I'm saying? Today we're reacting to Souls Like Fatigue is setting in. You know what I'm saying? Hope it's gonna be a W vid. We're gonna get right to it, alright? Alright. Alright, go ahead, continue. You got it? No. I was gonna react to this vid. It's what, 20 minutes? Uh I've been forgetting to bring them, but one 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 which alright. Let's see what Charlie got going on, y'all.
Well, unfortunately, it finally happened. That dreaded time is upon us. The Armageddon the Bible warned us about. The oversaturation of my favorite video game genre, Souls-like. There are too many Souls-like games. There are so many
I
Souls, I
mean,
bet even
he's got a point. When we think about Souls like games, I mean we got like Elden Ring. What else? We got, I mean, obviously Dark Souls, the main game timeline, I guess you could say. I think they had a spin off. They had that one spin off that one year where they were doing like these other type of games where it was like a mixture of like that hardcore Souls like game, but it has like um more user friendly things to it. For example, right, when we look at like, I'm trying to look for the name. It was before they released Elden Ring. It was this one game. I mean, Hollow Knight's like a side scroller, so I wouldn't say that. Bloodborne. Bloodborne was also a Souls-like game that just it gave in to like that saturated saturated feeling of how Souls games be nowadays for me. I don't feel like Hollow Knight's a Souls-like game. He might think otherwise. I think it's like a side scroller. Like a side scroller, like some regular side scroller shit. Modern modern day like some modern day Sonic or some modern day Mario, but like I got like a different theme to it.
Shang Tsung would want to retire. Every week, there is a new Souls like game dropping or being announced. It is preposterous. This genre has become the hero
Everything about
shooter
Souls like
of
is
the
Souls like game.
2020s. Even the word Souls like has been boiled, broiled, and sauteed to the point where it becomes meaningless, where every studio now says that they borrow elements from it. It's become just an absolute meaningless buzzword in a lot of cases. For some games that aren't even Souls like, they'll still use the term to describe certain mechanics. Like if you happen to
It's almost like they're leeching off of the like Dark Souls like franchise and what they built, which is spamming Souls like in the game description or like in the trailers for these games that be coming out, just so they can get like a quick buck.
use the right bumper for an attack or something, they're like, oh, we took inspiration for Dark Souls for this one. Meanwhile, you're using right bumper to like change your fucking gun or something. It's just that
Right
word and the
bumper is
genre as a
is
whole has
is the
become
hard Souls like,
so
bro.
diluted. And the fatigue is really setting in. A lot of people are now yawning and rolling their eyes during every conference that shows a game that even remotely resembles something Souls adjacent. And I hate to see that because that used to be the most hype reveal.
I
But
mean, with saturation, I mean, the fans that play all these Souls like games are gonna get smarter eventually. They're gonna be like, oh, gonna start catching on to when like they keep doing the same thing over and over again. They keep doing the same buzzwords over and over again. At some point, it's gonna stop making it like it's gonna stop being as hype and stop making as much you know clickbait. I guess you could say clickbait money. Like, oh, buy the game. It's Souls like. It's got this mechanic that Dark Souls 3 had back in like 2012, bro. Like what?
I looked up how many Souls-like games have come out this year already, and it's 7, which means there's at least been one a month, and they're pretty big budget ones for the most part. Now, not all of them are standalone games. That it does include like Lies of
Seven big
P's
budget Souls
DLC,
like games
which
is
was an absolute
unbelievable.
slapper, and obviously that does include Elden Ring Night Rain. And the point I'm making isn't even to say that all of the Souls games that are coming out now are like bad or anything. In fact, I'd still argue the majority of them are pretty good,
And
but there are
like,
some.
if we're talking since this is next gen with the PS5, the Xbox, etc., etc. I mean, the game graphics aren't gonna be bad, but it's just the same repetitive um story and gameplay mechanics as every other Souls game. So it's like what I'm looking at is good, but what I'm playing is like it's the same as 10 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Elden Ring, although it still falls into his niche of Souls-like games, they went a step further and added Night Rain and these other DLCs to like make the game a little more engaging. And unlike these other 7 games that got released this year, I could definitely say Elden Ring is like one of the few that like I wouldn't consider to be like a one-to-one damn near replica of a Dark Souls game or a Bloodborne. They have like their own unique spin on it. So when he's talking about these Souls like games and how they're oversaturated, I don't think deep I don't think Elden Ring falls into that category. You know what I'm
That it's very clear companies are just rushing the shit out, striking while the iron is hot, and it's getting lazier for some of them. And I hate to see that because these games are very special to me. Now, I want this to be not just a rant about the state of this genre, but I
It
also want to
basically is
just
a rant.
review the most recent one I played, which is Wu Chong Fallen Feathers. I finished it last night. It was a pretty meaty game. It took me over 16 hours. The full edited playthrough
Actually,
is on
that
my.
reminds me. If we're talking about games that came out there as Souls like this year, the damn Wukong game, I'm pretty sure that was 2025, ain't it? There you go. There's a Souls like game right there. Now, although it wasn't horrible, it falls into that niche and falls in that saturation of just another Souls like game, some more spamming, and the Souls like games. What we've been used to for genuinely a decade now. So
Gaming
yeah,
channel, Moist Critical Gaming, if you want to see it. And I know me mentioning that I want to review this on the back of this rant about how oversaturated the genre has come immediately plants the idea in your noggin that I fucking hated Wuchong. But that's not true. I didn't
I didn't play the
dislike this
game.
game or anything. I didn't think it was
I
bad.
can't speak on
But I
Wuchang.
do
I'm
think
talking
Wuchong
about
is a
Wukong. I
great
keep mentioning about
example
Wukong getting
for
Souls like game.
studios just wanting a Souls game out there without really delivering anything new to the genre at all. So it just feels very generic and thus
Stale.
feels pretty
Generic and stale
stale.
for sure.
This game has gotten a lot of criticism because of its absolutely
Hold on, let me pause the video real quick. Is that a Broly figure in the background? Hashtag noticing. I see a little head poking out. Okay, I see. I didn't know we thought it was a mana culture here. I see guts in the berserker armor in the background too, looking like a real mana culture with these figures I'm seeing in the background. Hold up. Let me find out.
abominable PC
Let me
launch.
find out.
It was so bad, in
Let
fact,
me
that for the first time in who knows how many years, I actually decided not to get the PC version of a game and instead got it on console. So I got this on PlayStation 5 and I had no performance issues
I
at
ain't gonna
all.
lie. This is the first time I've heard somebody willingly get a game on console instead of PC. Like, what are the upsides to that? Other than like, of course, the occasional PlayStation exclusives. Like, they had bangers like one I can recently remember. Um, what is its name? Hold up. PlayStation exclusive that I wish I had a PlayStation for this exact game, and for sure was that one samurai game basically. Nah, not Spider Man. Spider Man is good. The first Spider Man was good, but that's like not recent. I'm talking like recent wise. What's this one game? Hold up, not not God of War. Uh, the first Spider Man was good. I think the Miles Morales game it didn't even feel like a real. It didn't feel like a full game. They should have. They should have released that PlayStation. They should have released that PlayStation exclusive Miles Morales Spider Man. They should just release as a DLC for the original game because it didn't feel like a full game. It felt like it felt like what Night Rain is for Elden Ring. So yeah, but what like I'm searching it up. Why is this game nowhere you found? Like I like come on now, bro. It was only that one. Hold up, PlayStation exclusive. There we go. Ghost of Tsushima. There we go. I didn't know Ghost of Tsushima came out this long ago. 2020 is kind of crazy. I thought it was more recent than that. But when I was trying to reference Ghost of Tsushima, those are the only type games go when Ghost of Tsushima drops, or when that original Spider-Man drops, or God of War, the original God of War stuff. Games like that, fair enough if you're gonna go and get a PS5 just to play the game. But anything else that's on Steam and you're willingly choosing to play it on the console is crazy. I'm not gonna lie. Like you have a
But pretty
PC right
much
there
across
and
the
you're just
board, everyone
dominating
was
it.
reporting that this
I don't know why.
game was irredeemable dog shit when it comes to performance on PC. Like, it just wouldn't even work. It
Oh,
was like the fucking McDonald's ice cream machine of video games. And they also made an apology recognizing how horrible the launch was for PC and
so
how
how is a oversaturated Wu Chang probably the seventh Souls like game to come out this year, mind you? How is it gonna release and not even like be optimized for its most of its player base, which is on PC? They had the game being better experienced on lesser a lesser system, a PS5 being a better experience when it could be more further optimized for the vast majority of playing the game, which is gonna be PC players,
inexcusable it was. So it's
Steam
good they're
users
at least
specifically.
recognizing
Like, come
that,
on,
but it should have never shipped in that state
if
in the
you're gonna
first place.
if you're
This is
gonna
a
be
topic I can yap about
making a genuine like copy of Dark Souls 3, you might as well do it the right way. Like, come on.
to the cows come home. It is shocking that we still get so many majorly broken PC releases for video games where they ship in pretty much
Yeah,
unplayable states sometimes. Like, that's almost
they need to do far more testing before they release it to all platforms. You know what I'm saying? You can't just put slop out and expect like
just a
people to
scam.
eat it
Like, you
up
are paying for a
because it's
product that
Souls like
can't
it's gonna
even
be
run on PC. It's so weird how that is still so common. But they're doing their best to update it and fix it. They've been rolling out patches, which some people are reporting are helping. So, I mean, they're chipping away at it, but that has been a huge hurdle for this game. But for me, since I played it on console, I didn't have those issues. So let's dive into the actual spaghetti and the meatballs of the game. I want to start with some of the positive things here, so that way I'm not just negative Nancy off rip. One thing this game put a big emphasis on that I wasn't expecting was story. There are
okay.
NPCs out the wazoo here, and
That's one way you can actually differentiate yourself from some, you know, some trash Souls like game, the sixth to release this year that just happens to be Souls like. One way you can differentiate is having a good story mode. So you know what I'm saying? That's good that he's saying the first point he's making is that they actually had a good story mode compared to the other six released this year. So that's a good starting point. Maybe could that combined with a good PC release, maybe this video would be published right now. Maybe you'd be getting a a, a maxed out moist meter instead. Oh, this Wu Chang game is just miles above the rest of the Souls like games. It's one for the ages, but no, you just have to plug up the PC release, and now we're here.
all of them have a lot of exposition and give you a lot of lore. They did a lot to carve out a world here that I do think was pretty fresh. I thought the story was good. I enjoyed the narrative. and I appreciated that. There's a lot of quest lines as well. Granted, I can't believe I'm
So then so
immediately
so they're basically just fluffing. When I hear that a game besides story mode has like just it's just fluffed with a bunch of quest line, that basically means that they're just fluffing the game. After you finish the story, just fluffing it with stuff to do um until the game is 100% complete. Like for example, if somebody's just trying to go with that, she's trying to go and max out the game fully, get all the badges, all the achievements and whatnot, and they're just littering the game with side quests after the main storyline. For like one thing I could you know think of, if I think on the top of my head, DBZ Kakarot. After you do the story mode for Drama Z Kakarot, they just littered it with a bunch of damn side quests. So that the achievement to complete the game fully takes that much longer. That's one example I could think of. I mean, yeah, off the top of my head, that's all I can think about. And that's and that's not even recent either. There's probably hella games that um fluff up with a bunch of side quests after the story mode just to make it that much more what's the word? To make it that much more time consuming.
going to attach a hemorrhoid onto this. But granted, a lot of those quest lines you follow don't really give you any reward worthy of the time you put into
Wow.
it. You don't really get
So the quest lines that
anything
they're adding and they're fluffing the game with don't even aren't even worth it. It's like a main story a main story quest will give you a million XP, but this side quest that takes double the time gives you like 2,500, no, like 250,000. Like buns compared to what took you half the time, but it's a side quest and you have to complete it if you want the achievement. Am I right? Like, come on now.
for doing a lot of the side activities other than
That's the one problem
maybe
that
at
games tend
best another charge on your
when they want
healing
to be
flask.
souls
In this
like.
game, it's the mana base. That is like the
Soulslike doesn't
best
mean
possible
to
reward you
fluff it
get
with
for
a
the
bunch of
side
with a
content, which
side
is just a
quest.
little underwhelming. Yeah, it's a good reward because it's really helpful to have another charge, but you went through a lot of effort. You'd kind of want something more exciting, like a new weapon or something, but you don't usually
True.
get that through
That's what
doing one of the quest
they try to
lines.
get around making new weapons and new models. They try to get around that with make like putting something in the game locked behind a side quest. They get around that by like making it like a new, I don't know, something that's already in the game. For example, let's say there's a side quest in let's say there's a side quest in ABA to make it so that you have so that you make it so you have another another it's basically the repeated version of a mechanic that's already in the game. It's a scapegoat that they use to first of all save themselves less time and money, and for one, and be lazy, and for two, fluff the game up so that the achievement takes longer to get. You know what I'm saying? More hours to put in.
They save for like three or so big side quest lines that are easily missable. In fact, one of them I fucked up. But point is, it is cool how much story there is. I just do wish the rewards were a little better for doing so much out of your
Yeah,
way
me
for
too.
some of the side content. But I thought that was cool. I think the gameplay is very smooth. I think it is pretty silky across the board. I think a lot of the
Gameplay, that's like the one thing that I feel like comes like it's almost like it has to be. Like, don't bother releasing the game if the gameplay and the graphics aren't running smooth like every other Souls game. Because if I'm being honest, if you're gonna be in this niche, that's like what we expect. We expect the gameplay to be smooth. If the gameplay is lacking and you wanna try and feed off of these Souls like themes that are looking for the next Souls like copy, then at that point don't release the game. They already screwed up the PC release. I'm hearing so. Yeah, I mean he's saying the gameplay is smooth. Just like Sun Wukong, the gameplay was smooth on release too, but I mean, still falls into that category of oversaturated. Dark Souls 3 slop. You know what I'm saying? That they're making what? How many years later? I don't remember when's the last time a Souls game was released, bro? Like, bro, last time a Souls game released was genuinely in 2016. We're going on almost a decade. with this
The
type
abilities,
of
like the
game,
disciplines is what they're called in this game,
roundabout.
are flashy and fun. It feels responsive, it feels good. I was going to once again to put a little blemish there with a little asterisk with something, but I'm going to refrain. I'll get into some of the gameplay complaints here in a little bit.
Wow, so you
But
don't got a
again,
gameplay complaint.
overall, I do think there were a lot of fun
Not gonna
ways of
cause it.
playing with the disciplines, and since you can seamlessly go from one weapon to the other through having a Skyborn Might, which is something you charge up through various different means, you can then switch from one weapon to the other while also using a skill. It makes it flashy, fun, and smooth. It's cool.
Okay.
There's a lot of room to play there and get very creative in combos. Another thing I liked about the game is its skill tree. Granted, a lot of the things on the skill tree are just like +1 to endurance, +1 to strength, that kind of thing. There are some certain nodes in the skill tree that do change the way your build will function, such as
I
giving
mean,
it the ability to
skill
deflect
tree
on.
wise, um, that's one thing I think is interchangeable, no matter if it's a Souls like game or any other type of game, because with Souls trees, with skill trees, soul trees, however you want to say it, or like stats where they get to where the user themselves, the player themselves, get to have control of what build they want to do or what they want to cater to. You want to be a more tankier build. You want to do more damage. You want to be faster. This, that, and third. Um, that's an either or because in one case it lets the user be interactive, lets the player interact with the game more. But in another case, it's like now you got to worry about all this balancing. Like, oh no, we overtuned the health stat or the health skill tree a little too much. Now these builds are broken in the game. If there's multiplayer, now people are running around in ranked with these tankier builds or they overtune this damage, these high damage builds. Now these builds are running around, and that's all people are using because it's not it's not balanced. So while it's good to have that, it comes with its own problems. So whenever I see a game that has like skill trees or soul trees, or doesn't have that, and you have to be a certain way, and you can't really be interactive like that, and can't really customize your build how you want to be. That's a that's an interchangeable thing. They could do either or because it comes with its own problems on both sides.
The third hit of a light attack string. Deflecting in this game, or clashing, excuse me, not deflecting. Clashing is when like you attack during one of their attacks, or they attack you during one of your
Clashing, yeah,
attacks,
clashing
and then
is
they will hit each other.
mechanics
And
they
it
have
is
like
a really good tool to allow you to continue pushing through that without taking tons of damage. And it can change the way that you approach a build. And it
okay,
is free to respec those points, which is very nice. So you get to try
okay.
a lot of
So
different things.
we got some free to play love over here. They're gonna make it free to take in and out your soul tree or skill tree points with however way you want. So okay, I see the well kind of I see the pseudo kind of fan service they're going for. That's fair. That's a fair play right there. I don't see even with more lower end games that aren't even a AAA title, they don't even let you do that for free. So to see a more higher quality game that's actually funded by like a good decent budget over here and implement some free stat resets, that's actually pretty good on their part. That's different. I haven't seen a Souls game implement for free, some some resets on the soul tree or resets on the skill tree abilities.
And it makes it
Okay,
fresh. So you're never locked into one build, and the respecs aren't a resource.
that's
So
one
you
of the
can
benefits that come with having a skill tree implemented in the game or any type of game. Not just Souls.
freely change things in and out, very similar to the way Black Myth Wukong did it, which is something I really appreciate. Another great thing about this game is how much meat is on its bones. It is a long game. Like, it took me a pretty girthy chunk of time here
For
to
this
get
Liu
through
Kang
it. And
game, on top of being fluffed with a bunch of side quests, they made the story mode lengthy. So you're gonna be on this game for hours and hours. It seems, huh?
I missed
I'm
a
what
boss,
I'm gathering after
unfortunately. I
playing
usually
this
like
game.
to do 100% bosses when I play a
What I'm
Souls game.
hearing about
This
the screwed up PC release. I don't think I plan to, but
time I accidentally missed one through
okay.
flubbing one of the quest lines. I made a big boo boo by exploring too much and bricking my quest line, which locked me out of a boss that I really wanted to fight. So yeah, there is a lot of content
Okay.
here. There is a lot of exploring here. It's exploring with a capital E. It is. This is, I would say, comfortably the most densely packed levels in the genre. And I actually mean that as
So in the whole Soul like genre, which is actually a pretty good compliment, very densely packed open world experience. Okay, that's what I like to hear. You know what I'm saying? That's actually good to hear that about a game. Yo, all right, peace out, bro. I was saying to hear um you know what I'm saying that about a game, it being more open world and more catered to like viewers that like to explore like a GTA. If a person comes from playing the GTA games, Grand Theft Auto games, and they want to explore a Souls like game, and they download this game, then they're gonna like it. They see that they can interact with the builds, they can interchange builds for free, and they could also, you know what I'm saying, explore the world. You know what I'm saying? Because these games at this point in time, if you're not coming correct with graphics that are the top of the line, then don't even bother releasing the game, right? So that's actually a good point that they went ahead and made it very open world. You go explore and all that.
more of a negative thing than a good thing. I think there's a lot of people that praise that. For me, I didn't like that. And you, okay, I've given you a lot of positives. Now we're gonna mix and match positives and negatives. The levels in this game, I really think, are just so counterintuitive. There's no like flow to them. It's just all haphazardly branching paths. So, in pretty much every single map, you will reach a fork in the road. And regardless of where you go, that fork will reach a fork. And then you'll follow one path there, and that fork will reach a fork. And that fork will reach a ladder. And that ladder will wrap around to one of the previous forks, where then maybe you end up going down the other side of it, and you'll find another ladder which will wrap back around to a fork, or maybe it'll go somewhere else for another branching path. Like, there's no fluidity to its level design. It didn't feel fun
Huh.
exploring. It felt like a fucking.
So I mean, that's the problem. That kind of stem. That's kind of why he's making the video. These Souls like games, since there's been so many, I can see where he's coming from. Where from coming from his perspective, this is like his 70th or whatever or 80th Souls like game he's installed on his computer. So he probably doesn't view how they built the game story mode wise and quest wise as fun anymore, just because of the repetitiveness. So on their part, to make that a little better, maybe make it a little bit like more on your toes. Like in this story quest, it's gonna be more like connecting. Part one leads to part two, leads to part three. But in this other story quest, there's an abrupt ending, cliffhangers. You know what I'm saying? You're thrown into this. You're thrown into this mini game, or you're thrown into this, or you're thrown into that. Keeps the play on his toes. Because when you design every story quest, well, from what I'm hearing, when you design every story quest to be repetitive or to go in the same kind of style that the one was before, when you make it like that, it kind of tends to drive the player base down, or just they don't want to install the game, especially these PC players that were suffering from the poor release. On release, they had a poor PC release, so there's already a poor release, so they download on Steam, right? The game's already running more poor than it would on a console. But to make matters worse, the story quest itself it's not even unique, or it's not even keeping the user on its toes. It's just, what I'm saying, uh, boring and
Headache and a
negative.
chore. And since I did end up getting just sucked into exploring so many things just because I was so curious what reward might be there, it just leads to the most like nauseating traversal. And the worst part is when you do that level of exploring, you don't really get any good rewards. Like I did get lucky a few
Oh, I
times
know what you
where
mean. He keeps bringing up rewards. and like the lack of like maybe EXP or rewards that you're getting for a quest seems like that was a key mistake
The reward was like a new weapon,
in the
but the
game design.
weapons you get from it, like most of them were pretty bad. Like they weren't great weapons, unfortunately.
You know,
And you were
trash
lucky
rewards,
to get that.
trash rewards.
A lot of the exploring just leads to dead ends where you might get like one thing that'll let you pop it for more mercury, which is this game's version of Souls. And like,
Okay,
that's it. Or like you'll get some purple moss so you can cure corruption. It never felt rewarding to explore at all.
not in the
Like I
least.
love the idea of having maps like this where there is so much there, like a soup with so many chunks for you to chew on, but it's like empty. It's like styrofoam chunks. Like you don't get anything out of doing that, and it just kind of sucks to chew through. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense. And it sucks because I do think there was a lot of potential there. Like I think the maps look really nice. Like I think every level is
But
visually
again, with a Souls-like game, if you're gonna be in a competitive genre or oversaturated genre, I said this and I'll say it again. If you are making a Souls-like game and you are having your gameplay running smoothly, which he said there's actually some hiccups in it, which he's gonna get to. If you're not having your gameplay running smoothly and your graphics, running smoothly off the jump, before we even get to story mode, before we get to quests, before we get to the meat potatoes, the actual game, if you're on those two key things, then don't even bother releasing the game. Don't even bother getting a budget, for said game because those are like two staples. In a Souls like game, it's a staple to have a appealing game, what you're looking at, say you can appreciate. That's already like that should already be incorporated into it. You know what I'm saying? Same with the gameplay. The gameplay should already run smooth and be very responsive. If not, scrap the idea.
beautiful. I think the whole game itself is pretty gorgeous to look at. I think there's a lot of people that were really trying to find everything to hate about this game for some reason. So people were criticizing it for looking too similar to things like Black Myth
I mean, at least
Wukong
if
or
there's something
Wulong
like that, you can
Fallen
hate on.
Dynasty. And I can get that
At least
argument
something
kind
like
of, but it doesn't bother me. Like I still think they did a good job of carving their own identity in the visuals department, especially when it came to like their bosses and even some of the enemy designs. So that didn't bother me. It's just I hated the way the maps were laid out. And another thing they did with each map here, like all of the levels, is the way they would make it like difficult is they would just add tons and tons of like random traps and statuses out the wazoo. So there'd be like corruption fart fumes that you'd have to
Okay,
like wander
I
through, and you'd need to put on armor that's really resistant to corruption so you don't get corrupted.
that's the repetitiveness I'm talking about. Like, let's say you're just starting this Wu Chang game out, right? It's unique, it's fun, it's playful the first couple times. Oh, I'm hit with this new status effect. Oh no, I'm poisoned. Now I have to get this cure or I have to get this cure or this armor that protects me from said ailment, right? Oh, that's cool. It happens again. Okay, happens again. Interesting. And then it happens the fourth time, and now it's just getting repetitive, and it's not fun and engaging to the player anymore. Hence why the damn genre is so oversaturated now in real time. Because you keep having these games, they think they're doing something with, what like he said, these repetitive story modes, repetitive type quests with little to no rewards. And in reality, it's just making the games that just like lower quality, less memorable. You know?
On the way through and then need to pop the purple moss, or there'd be like blight containers where if you hit them too hard or if you like run through them or dash through
It's gonna
them,
blow up.
it'll shoot blight balls at you which half your health temporarily. Like just so many statuses that make it annoying to get through as opposed to like hard or fun. Like it's
Uh-huh.
not hard to
I
do
I
that,
figured
it's
that. Yeah.
just tedious. And something that also made it even more tedious was this game's baffling decision to have such a shortage of shrines. Shrines being the bonfires of this game. The shrines
Spawn points. Okay, so not only is the story mode, not only is the story mode lengthy, but you're gonna sit here and tell me that your spawn points and bonfires you got like a handful in the whole entire game. Come on, people aren't good. People aren't perfectionists here. No, we're not gonna sit here and act like somebody's gonna do a zero damage run as soon as they click play on the game. people are gonna fail. People are gonna die during gameplay. You gotta have yourself a good amount of bonfires and spawn points. Like, having less spawn points doesn't make the game more Souls-like. It just makes the game that much like less enjoyable. Like it entices me and probably every other player playing the game to click the X button if you have like 5 spawn points in your entire story mode. Like what? You know?
Are placed really, really far apart. And
Yeah.
there are shortcuts. Like, there's no, like, sacrifice of shortcuts. There are quite a handful of them, but they don't make
Okay.
it that much faster. So, another big problem people talk about in this game is the runbacks. Like, if you die to a boss, most of the time it's going to be a long run to get back to that boss. So,
Problem.
you better pray that you get it first try because you are not going to like the run.
I understand. Like they're trying to make the illusion that like this is a Souls game. This is hardcore. This is nothing like you've ever played before. In reality, they're just ruining the game's quality. If you're gonna be spamming, you know what I'm saying? If you're gonna be spamming hard bosses and mini bosses leading up to the boss, at least have like a good amount of spawn points, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Back if you keep dying. They were not very generous with the shrines. And again, that doesn't do anything to make the game harder, it just makes it more tedious. That's like a very arbitrary way of making the game appear more challenging or punishing than it
I
is.
like I
That's
just
just
said for sure.
annoying. And that was a bit of a headache. And overall, I would say this game is more on the easier side in the genre, which by no means is a bad thing. I think that's totally fine. It's just their way of making things harder was just by making them more annoying as opposed to like better mechanics or making them, more challenging mechanics. It just made them slower and tedious ones. Now, I want to talk about the combat again because like I said, it is fun. I do like the combat mechanics here. But there is nothing new in it. It's like exactly what you're used to in the genre. It doesn't.
Yep, yep. So he was gonna. I'm pretty sure this is what gets to talking about the gameplay. When you have, when you're, as I said, when you're in competitive genre like this with Souls games, if you're not spicing it up, if you're not changing it up, then like what is the point of releasing the game? And he's saying this is the same thing that everybody's been playing for who knows how long when it comes to these Souls games in the gameplay mechanics and the combat mechanics. If you're not spicing it up, then it's just gonna be very very forgettable, and it's not gonna be a fun experience, bro.
Try to do anything super different. Now, I don't think it's a requirement to do that or anything if you're making a game in the genre. Like, there's nothing wrong with just doing what all the other games are that came before you, but doing it really well. You don't need to put your own quirky, unique spin on it. You don't have to reinvent the fucking wheel. That's not what I'm saying. But this game is so content to just be, you know, serviceable. It doesn't go above being like good. It doesn't try and be great or anything. It's just good enough. It's what you expect and it delivers what you expect. And I guess at this point, with how many fucking Souls games I've played, I just appreciate if it did try and go beyond that and be great and, want to do something more special. Now, the game has a few weapon types. It has long sword, dual blades, one handed sword, spear, and axe. And
Sounds basic. Sounds basic. I've heard Roblox games that have the same exact weapon categories as what you just listed. Long swords. I've heard long swords. I've heard axes. I haven't. He didn't list great hammers. They don't have great hammers. They don't have what else he said? Short blades, like katana types. I think katana type things.
there's not a ton of weapons in this game for each of those
I would say
categories,
bow. They don't have
which
bows either.
didn't really bother me because I ended up mainly just using Lashing Whip. The versatility in this game doesn't even really come from its weapons so much. It mainly comes
The
from
build.
like the discipline skills plus whatever skill, whatever weapon you choose comes with. That's mainly where it comes from. So for me, the lashing whip made my attacks have longer range, and I have like the dance where it hits a lot and it's long range. It felt really strong. So I didn't mind any of that. There's also spells in this game. There's a big emphasis on spells, actually. You get a lot of them.
Okay.
And I can't really opine on that because I don't do any spell casting in Souls games. It's just not how I like to play them. It's not my cup of tea. So I don't really have a lot of say in how the spells feel in this game. I used a lot of them just to see it because they were very flashy and cool, and I have no doubt you can make a really fun, strong build with them. It's just not typically how I like to approach games in this genre. So don't have a lot to say there, but they did seem very cool with a lot of potential. Overall, I felt the combat was fun, albeit very by the numbers, like what you expect without going above and beyond by any means, but it was still good and I had fun with it. But this is by far my biggest complaint in this entire game. They made a decision when it comes to the combat that I think really fucking sucks.
Let's hear
And
it.
it's how they handle knockdown. Every boss and tons of enemies have multiple moves and ways of knocking you down. Which in Souls games is always like tough because once you get knocked down, it throws off your rhythm and you can get punished. Like it is.
Okay, so with those games, obviously you have to roll, parry, the regular shebang. But if you're telling me, apart from all the pre stuff we just mentioned with the story mode, if you're telling me that I'm gonna have to sit here and have my character be knocked down for way too damn long, then we got a problem.
Always rough. But in other games in this genre, you have ways of combating that. Like there are some iframes like when you roll out of it, or there are perks where you can do like a quick roll out of a knockdown. In this game, there is none of that. If you get knocked down, you will pretty much die in like every case unless you're really tanky or if the boss or enemy decides not to keep attacking. When you get knocked down, there is no quick get up. If you are spamming roll to get up, you are still going to get up at a pretty slow pace, and regardless of where you like roll in what direction, you will still get hit. There are no iframes on it, and it'll typically lead to a knockdown chain. So you'll get knocked down once and you'll try and like roll out of it real quick so you can get back on your feet and fight. But what'll happen is the boss is still going in like a string, or maybe it starts a new string and it'll knock you down again, and then you're going to eat another attack when you try and get up, rinse and repeat till you die, and usually it's like 3 or 4 hits for that. Or if you don't get knocked down again, you'll just eat a huge hit when you get up and you get punished. You can't really avoid damage once you get knocked down. And if you try,
So they don't have like a venting system or like a way of getting out of combos, if you will, or his system. Um, with that, I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna be completely honest when I say this. I think that they thought in their minds, oh, this is gonna make the game more hardcore, more Souls-like. And in reality, it just made the game more unplayable.
and like wait it out, like where you lay on the ground instead of try and like roll out of it and you try and slow get up, obviously you're gonna eat a fucking wallop there too. Because you're not like invincible when you're getting up or anything like that. So if you try and like wait out a chain or something, you'll just eat attacks while you're still fucking snoring down there, still sleeping. There are no really good options of combating knockdown in this game other than just don't get hit. Like that's really it. So when you're fighting a boss, you could be
They
doing
expect their whole player base to be perfectionists. Like, although I mean, a lot of these people that are coming to play this Souls like this 120th Souls like game, although they played a lot of Souls like games like these in the past, that is true. But you can't just expect them to not get hit every single boss every single time. Like, make the knockback, like decent, to the point where you're still affected by it, but you can, get back into the fight and still continuing on.
it perfectly, but if you get knocked down once, that's basically curtains. And I really didn't like that. That doesn't feel punishing per se. Like it is, like that is punishing, but in a way that doesn't feel fair. Because it's not like other games in the genre do it like that. Usually, if you get knocked down, you do have ways of saving that and like not losing your run for it. Like there are ways that you can be skillful about solving that problem. as opposed to just not ending up in that position in the first place. And I don't like that approach of like, well, just shouldn't have got knocked down. You should have known you'd die the second you got knocked down because now you're out of options. That's checkmate. That was so infuriating. Like I said, the game is on the easier side, but the the way they try and make it harder is through things like that, and I think that sucks. Something a lot of other people complained about, and I did too for a little while, but it grew on me, is how much the bosses move. So in this game, I think the bosses are really cool and very flashy, and I think they look really nice, and some of them have very fun attacks and like very good patterns to learn that make it really feel super cool. But every boss in this game is constantly moving and spamming. There are a lot of bosses that will just spam combos or spam spells endlessly while also spamming iframes. So they're moving around the arena, they're jumping around you, they're teleporting away constantly. So it makes it very hard for you to get a big punish in. It makes it hard for you to get like a
They're basically just they're trying their hardest throughout this game to make you stay on the game and make you just slowly but surely weed out the game's long, extensive story mode and just slowly go by completing it for hours and hours. They're trying to make you stay on the game for as long as possible. Is what I'm saying. Hearing you mess up once in a boss, you have to restart. You have to go all the way back to the boss because the checkpoint is who knows where. Then, when it comes to actually fighting the boss, if you're not getting hit, well, you're also not doing much hits either because they're teleporting and flying away and they're not giving you any chance to hit them. Anyways, poor battle design as far as bosses goes on here.
charged heavy on like a back shot or anything like that. And a lot of people were noting that that was frustrating. And for me, it was too sometimes, but it's one of those things where towards the end of the game, I kind of figured out how to fight back against like the constant iframe spam and dodging and moving around. So it didn't bother me that much towards the end, but in the beginning, yeah, it was kind of annoying. But I don't think that's the biggest deal in the world. Though I will agree with the take that because the bosses are always moving, it does nullify some builds. Like it does make them just not viable, such as some things that you might want to
I
try.
should have said that earlier, bro. When you have a skill tree system or soul tree or skill or stat point system, when you overtune something in the game, whether that be the stat itself or like he's saying bosses, when you overtune something, it makes certain things in the game unusable. Like now that boss, these bosses or this boss gives you no time to hit him throughout the fight, or phase two or three or how many other phases, if they're letting you attack 0 times in like 5 minutes of fighting the boss, like barely anything, then some of these slower builds are generally unusable. You know?
With the axe because it is kind of slow and you can still make it work if you're like really tight with it, but because they are always moving you might not get your whole string off or you might not get to activate everything you want to with your skills in order to get your build going and cooking and doing damage on the boss because they are moving so much. So you need to be able to strike faster, you need to be able to do something to catch up to them to start attacking. So I understand why some people and their builds find it to be like really, really annoying. Anyway, overall, I think Wuchang is a solid game. I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. I had fun playing it. Though it is a very average, middle of the road Souls game. It doesn't try and do anything big or new or innovative or special. It is content just being serviceable. And for some people, that's fine. And I will say, for its price tag, I think that is also a big, like, point in their favor. Like, that was a good move. It's not a $70 game. That's a really good decision. So, for the $50 price tag, you do get a lot of content and you get a fine Souls game. So, you get a cheaper price tag for a still good Souls game. I think that's, hey, that's a solid deal right there. That's not bad at all. But if you get it on PC, you might not be able to play it at all, apparently, which I think is a huge problem. Games should not be able to be shipped in that state and sold.
Come on.
But I've yapped about that a lot. I won't go down that path again. Again, I played it on console, so I didn't have those issues. Anyway, though, overall, like I said, Wuchang is good. but it's not great. It's not amazing or anything. It's fine. It is a good Souls game for a very decent price that I think was a good decision from them. Anyway, that's it. See ya.